Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good day to our beloved lecturer Dr. Fatin and to our dear friends. Today we'll be presenting about leadership and management, and my name is Farah Nursabrina Binti Rahim, and I'll be presenting about the first part of this presentation, which is leadership. Now in this next slide, I'm going to talk about the philosophical views of what leadership is, and let's look at what this slide is showing you. Nordhaus says that leadership is about a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal, while Zaki says that leadership is inspiring others to pursue your vision to the parameters that you set, to the extent that it becomes a shared effort, vision, and success. But does leadership just involves a set of processes where a leader has to influence people? Does leadership means that we have to work with people, inspire people in order to pursue a certain goal or vision? Do we know what leadership means in terms of influencing and inspiring people? And does leadership just involve influence and inspiring? Now, there are 3 stages inside the process of leadership according to Bush and Glover in the article in 2013, the first of which is called influence, the second is values, and the third one is vision. Now, influence has more power than authority, where it can attract people either in groups or individual, and it comes with purpose or goals that it needs. In a sense, it is also a kind of a social process. The second one, values, it becomes the grounding actions for the school in creating visions and the more values that it needs to teach the students as well as to the teachers and the staff. The third one is vision, which is the most important component in becoming the source of motivation for the staff and the teachers, as it can become their individual motivation for their visions, for their own visions. And it also involves a lot of dynamic processes like discussions with them in creating what school vision is, what school vision needs, and what the end of the discussion entails in creating a dynamic vision that will involve the whole school. Now, in the scope of leadership, it is a bit broad and expands to a lot of fields involving not just students but also the teachers and the school staff. And the first one is that the leader in the school, the principal, has to show enough authority to tell them that he or she is not only in charge of them, but he or she will also be responsible for them. And this leader must also create initiatives in creating the school vision. And in that vision, they have to know what kind of values, what kind of manners, what kind of points that they want to put. A leader also has to set herself or himself as a role model, so that not just students but teachers and school staff can make an example out of them. And it is also the leader's responsibility to create a healthy culture and climate, or a good atmosphere for working and studying and learning. And in that, the leader must also be prepared to give a lot of support for them. And also, the leader must understand that schools change, and a lot of these changes may not be acceptable by the students and teachers and also the staff. So the leader must know and maintain this receptiveness to the changes, like take notes, draw solutions for them, and also know how to make it a dynamic process in solving. And last but not least, the leader must have a trust in the staff that he's working with, and the staff must also have trust in the leader that they are working together with. Next will be about leadership models, but I will only discuss of this briefly since our future presenters Ikram, Nurin and Zaki will cover these topics in an extensive manner. So the first one we have is managerial or transactional leadership, in which principals become the change agents. But their scope of power is just limited to manage external initiatives or external programs. The second one is instructional, which is done during the mid-1980s, in which principals becomes the primary source of knowledge to develop educational programs. And last but not least, transformational leadership during the 1990s until now. Schools become responsible to initiate change to their own schools. Principals become responsible to make changes to their own school. So now we have three models of leadership: transactional, instructional, and transformational, and this will be covered by Ikram, Nurin, and Zaki. Now we know a little bit about what leadership is. We have discussed about the philosophical views of leadership. We have discussed about the process of leadership, in which we have influence, values, and visions. We have also touched on the scope of what leadership is. We also touched on briefly about the three models of leadership, which is transactional, instructional, and transformational. And now we are moving on to the differences between leadership and management. But I have already told you about what leadership is, and we can already say that leadership is focused on individual, the person who carries the banner of leadership, when he has also broader involvement in the sense that leaders have a bigger scope of work to do, a bigger responsibility, and that makes them a role model to others. And also, leaders have to be creative, inventive, and constructive in terms of creating visions, inculcating values to others. Also to influence other people, whether in groups or individuals. But what about management? What do we know about management? What do we know about what management means? So for this subtopic, we'll move to the next presenter, Syahida, Zainal, who will discuss about management and also make comparison between leadership and management.
Okay, I am Syahida Binti Zainal, and so now we are going to continue with philosophical view of management. So what is management? Okay, management is primarily with getting the work of the organization complete in an efficient and effective manner, focused typically on the day-to-day functioning of the organization, giving primary attention to getting the job done. This is by Lalone in 2010. So management is something that advocates stability and carries out responsibility by exercising authority to get the goals accomplished, by Lunenberg in 2011. So let's continue with the four management process. Okay, so the four functions of management are planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. Which manager perform to accomplish goal efficiently? First, manager must set a plan, then organize resources according to the plan, lead employees to work towards the plan, and finally control everything by monitoring and measuring the effectiveness of the plan. What is planning and decision making? So planning is decision making regarding the goals and setting the future course in action from a set of alternatives to reach them. So the plan helps to maintain managerial effectiveness as it works as a guide for the personnel for future activities. So in short, planning means that determining what the organization position and situation should be in the future, and decide how best to bring about the situation. Next one is organizing. Organizing can be defined as the process by which the established plans are moved closer to realization. It produces a structure of relationship in an organization, and it's through this structured relationship that plans are pursued. Once a manager set goals and develop the plans, his net function is to organize the staff. So basically, organizing is deciding where decision will be made, who will do what job and task, who will work from whom, and how resources will assemble. Okay, next is leading. Okay, leading is the skill of influencing people for a particular purpose or reason, creating a positive attitude towards the work and goals among the members of the organization is called leading or directing. Leading is considered to be the most challenging and important of all activities. Motivating is an essential quality for leading, which is said that efficient managers need to be efficient leaders. And the last one is controlling. Okay, monitoring the organizational progress toward goals fulfillment is called controlling. Monitoring progress is essential to ensure the achievement of the organization goals. So it is rightly said that planning without controlling is useless. In short, we can say that controlling enables the accomplishments of the plan. So if we ever plan something, if we don't control it, it will go haywire. So all the management functions of its process are interrelated and cannot be skipped. It design and maintain an environment in which personnel are working together in group and accomplish efficiently selected aims. So all managers carry out their function and management, but depending on the skills and position of the organization levels, the time and labor spent for each function will differ. Content scope of management. There are 5 content scope of management, that is creating condition for everyday work, the law in creation and control function, planning, work organization, and also motivation is what managers do. Next is type of educational management. So there are 4 types of educational management. The first one is centralized and decentralized. Second, external and internal. Third, authoritarian, autocratic, and democratic. 4 is creative. Okay, so now let's talk about the difference between leadership and management. So management is more of a collective focus, meaning that manager focus on system, structures, and resources rather on the individual itself. Next is narrow scope of involvement. Okay, manager's scope of activity and responsibility is smaller than a leader, as management is made up of many parts. Managers are only the leaders of the small parts in the organization. Okay, the next one is delegation. So delegation is the ability to share responsibility and tasks with others. So managers need to share their responsibility, as they are the one that are taking care of the staff, of the employees. The last difference is management is more of a routine, bureaucratic, and imitative, much as a craftsman's work. So this set function based on the official regulation fixed by the higher authorities within the organization, meaning whatever they do, what job they do are already fixed and are not flexible. So that's all from me. I'm going to pass this to the next presenter. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am Ikram Faez bin Mohamed and I will be explaining about instructional leadership. Let's get right to it. Okay, what is instructional leadership? Well, according to de Beauvoir, instructional leadership encompasses those actions that a principal takes or delegates to others in order to promote growth in students' learning. It basically means that leaders who aspire to improve students' academic achievement, not just that to do administrative work. Okay, the tasks of instructional leaders are defining the purpose of schooling, setting school-wide goals, providing resources needed for learning to occur, supervising and evaluating teachers, coordinating staff development programs, and creating collegial relationship with and among teachers. It is important for leaders to create collegial relationship as they need to share their responsibilities with others, because leaders, they cannot be a lone wolf. They are the leader of the pack. Okay. So what's the difference between leadership and management? What is the difference between leaders and managers? Okay. Leaders, they are their own person. They don't stick to what has been done before, and they improvise accordingly, while managers, they are good soldiers or robots, because they do what was told and they do it according to the previous arrangement. They don't ask why, they only ask what and when. Okay, leaders think radically. They understand that they have a big responsibility, thus need big changes to happen. And for it to happen, they need to think radically. Managers, they think incrementally, meaning that they have a clear path on the steps they have to take to get to point B from point A in linear manner. Because it is done in linear manner, it makes little changes. Okay, leadership inspire trust, while management ensure efficiency. Managers, they don't need trust, they just want the job done. Leaders have long-range perspective, which enables them to improvise with new knowledge or information, while managers have pragmatic views as they place importance on efficiency. Leaders communicate to develop collegial relationship, while managers command, because managers place importance on efficiency, they only command. In short, we can say that leaders do the right thing, while managers do things right. Okay, let's get to the roles of instructional leaders. In general, they improve teaching and learning in school by increasing teachers' effectiveness in teaching and by communicating school's goal clearly to the students and make sure that they understand it. They also lead in setting the school's vision and formulating strategies to achieve it. Leaders are the instructional resources. Instructional resource here means having up-to-date knowledge on 3 areas of education, the CIA: curriculum, instruction, and assessment. Okay, they provide a visible presence in the school. No, it does not mean that they can be seen in school. It means they are visibly present in students' learning environment to send a clear message on what is important. The students' education, of course. Okay. Instructional leaders understand effective practices in school and share it with the teachers for obvious reason, which is to improve their effectiveness. They define the school's missions as they would always try to reach a new level. Okay, lastly, they promote and participate in teachers' learning and development. For example, they would assess teachers' teaching method formally or informally for the sake of improving teachers' effectiveness. Thus, it would definitely help in improving students' academic performance. Alright, that's all from me. I'll pass it to the next presenter.
Hi and Assalamualaikum everyone. I am Nurin Auni Syauqina Binti Azhan, and I will be presenting to you about transactional leadership. Okay, so first of all, we have to know what is transactional leadership. What does it mean? Okay, let me share with you. Transactional leadership, or also known as managerial leadership, it is a leadership style where the executive relies on reward and also punishment in order to achieve the optimal job performance from his or her subordinates. Not just that, transactional leadership also focuses on result. It conforms to the existing structure of an organization and measure the success according to that organization's system of reward and penalties. Transactional leaders have the formal authority and position of responsibility in an organization. Next, I will be sharing a little bit of history about transactional leadership. It starts with Max Weber. He is a 20th century German sociologist, and he made an extensive study of leadership style and divided them into three categories: traditional, charismatic, and rational legal or bureaucratic. In 1947, Weber was the first to describe rational legal leadership, which is the style that would come to be known as transactional leadership. Transactional leadership theory is based on the idea that managers give employees something they want in exchange for getting something they want. It posits that workers are not self-motivated and require structure, instruction, and monitoring in order to complete tasks correctly and also on time. The transactional leadership style was widely used after World War II in the United States. This was a time when the government concentrated on rebuilding and required a high level of structure to maintain the national stability. Next, let's discuss the characteristics of transactional leadership. There are several characteristics of transactional leadership. The first one is extrinsic motivation, where the leaders need to elicit the desired performance from the team by motivating them externally. The second characteristic is practicality, where the approach to solving problems is pragmatic and also realistic. The third characteristic is resistant to change, because the leaders remain strict about the rules and resist to accept any change for improving the work condition. The fourth characteristic of transactional leadership is that it discourages the independent thinking, whereas the leader does not encourage the employees to act and also think creatively for themselves. What about transactional leaders? How they act? What are their rules? There are several rules of transactional leaders. The first one, they set goals and give specific direction about what they demand from the employee and how they will be rewarded for their effort. Next, they will provide productive feedback on performance, respond to deviation from expected outcome, and also identify corrective action to improve the performance. Not just that, they will establish and standardize the practice that will help the organization to become efficient and productive. Last but not least, they also focus on increasing the efficiency of established routine and procedure and show concern for following existing rules rather than making any change. There are indeed the advantage of transactional leadership. The first one, transactional leadership awards those who are motivated by self-interest to follow the instruction. This is indeed fair, as only those who put effort will be rewarded, and as for those who didn't put effort, they will be punished. This is not biased, and it is fair for everyone in the whole organization. Next one, it helps in effectively removing doubt or uncertainty. Transactional leadership also helps in measuring success by setting clear guidelines for everyone. It helps the whole organization to achieve the desired short-term goals quickly and also help in reducing costs. It is also good that the system allows the reward and penalties to be clearly known by the employees so that they will either be inspired by it or straight away improve their performance so that they won't be punished. Employees will also have clear instruction so they will be less confused in what needs to be done by them. Lastly, transactional leadership ensures that ensure the employees to know their tasks thoroughly so that there will be minimal error in their job. But just like everything in this whole world, they will have its own pros and cons. Despite several benefits of transactional leadership that I have shared just now, there are certain disadvantages of transactional leadership too. There are some drawbacks from this kind of leadership. Okay, the first one, this style of leadership doesn't encourage creativity among the employees. The employees doesn't have to think at all. They can also act creatively as the ideas and direction and instruction will come from one single person, which is their leaders. It would be such a waste as the organization wouldn't be able to make use of the talent and ideas from the employees. This style of leadership also put excessive reliance on one single person, which is the leader. That might be burdening compared to working together and brainstorming as a team. The leader might also experience burnout. It is also stated in one study that reward system can be ineffective. It can be demotivating for employees who put in their hard work but do not deliver as per the requirement. There is no flexibility too. This might be hard for the employees as the leader is strict. Last but not least, transactional leadership only focuses on short-term results and it does not consider long-term employee motivation. This is indeed unwise for an organization and the employees might also be demotivated in working and improving themselves more after that. So here we are at the end of my part for transactional leadership. To conclude, here are some important concepts that you have to know and also remember about transactional leadership. Transactional leadership and transactional leaders, they motivate subordinates through reward and punishment. It is highly related to extrinsic motivation. If the employees meet the leader's goal and expectation, they will be rewarded for their hard work. If they fail and violate this goal and expectation, they may face some punishment. One more thing about transactional leaders, they do not believe that their subordinates are self-motivated. Last but not least, from my point of view, transactional leadership is actually not that bad in developing the maximum leadership potential. It forms as the basis for more mature interaction, but leaders need to be more aware not to use it exclusively. Otherwise, I think it will lead to the creation of an environment that is highly determined by position, power, perks, and politics. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and hello to everyone. My name is Ahmad Zaki bin Mohamad and I will be continuing on transformational leadership. So before we get into transformational leadership, I will explain to you the definition of the leadership first. Okay, so leadership is an important function of management which help to maximize the efficiency and to achieve an organizational goals. Also, leadership is the ability to influence a group towards the achievement of a particular goal. So every leader will have this ability to influence their followers or their workers. Alright, when you become a leader, there will always be assumptions to you. Okay, so the first assumption towards a leader is that people will follow a leader who inspires them. The next one is that a person with vision and passion can achieve great things. The person here is the leader themselves. So if they have their vision and passion to achieve something, they will achieve it greatly. Alright. And the last one, the last assumption is that the energy, enthusiasm are the tonics that get things done. Without energy, enthusiasm, you will not get the things done and you will not achieve what you are dreaming for. Okay, so what is transformational leadership? Transformational leadership is a process that changes and transforms individuals. All right. Um, transformation, Transformational leadership, as I mentioned before, is the ability to get people want to change, to improve, and to be led. It was introduced by leadership expert James McGregor Burns. Okay, so in transformational leader, they have the ability to get people to follow them, to change themselves, and to improve in their work profession. Okay, next one is the transformational leader's goal. Transformational leaders' goal is to inspire their followers to share leaders' values and connect with leaders' vision. Okay, so they will let their followers to a better person, to achieve great goals together without thinking their personal interests or their personal goals. All right. Next one is transformational leadership concept. This concept is also known 4 I's of transformational leadership. The first one is that um, idealized influence. The leader serves as an ideal role model for followers and is admired for this. By exemplifying good values in themselves, um, these transformational leaders can influence their followers by idealizing a great concept in work. The second one is inspirational motivation. They have the ability to inspire and motivate their followers towards better. The ability here is meaning that they can talk while giving motivation and to inspire. With their words, they can manipulate their followers' thinking to achieve better things. The third one is individualized consideration. Transformational leaders demonstrate genuine concern for the needs and feelings of followers. So, when their followers ask a certain thing, they will respond and give idea um, to the followers that can help them to think on their own and improve themselves. And last but not least is intellectual stimulation. The leader challenges their followers to be innovative and creative when they presented an idea to them. The leader will ask their followers to expand the idea to be more creative and more innovative in order to create a great product or a better service to be served to the consumer. All right. As conclusion, transformational leadership is one of the effective approach to the transformational organization. Though it has certain limitations, it helps in the transformation of an organization. In my opinion, this is true because when you have a transformational leader in your organization, um, he or she will share the same vision um, to improve a certain organization and not to their personal gain or personal interest. Transformational leaders are those who stimulate and inspire followers and help them to grow and develop into leaders by responding to individual followers' needs, burnout, and bust. So, this statement is for you to decide whether it is true or not, because one day in the future, you yourself will work with a leader, and even better, you yourself will be the leader. With that, I end my presentation and I will pass to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum and hi, I am Syakirah Afifah Binti Mohamad Khalid and I will continue with issues and challenges faced by novice teachers. So first of all, novice teachers are the new teachers. Sometimes they are also called as inexperienced teachers. So the first year of a teacher's career has a great importance since it gives you a clue whether are you going to remain in the field or vice versa. So when novice teachers enter the school, they are expected with different kind of expectations depending on which school they are going. Some of them may be expected to teach like an experienced teacher. Some of them may be expected to adapt to the school environment fast and to learn about procedures and policies while becoming familiar with curriculum, testing, and the school. And of course, many of novice teachers will be facing issues in the class atmosphere, such as different student levels, students' behavior, pacing speed, workload, communications between parents and students, and other issues as well. So all of these expectations, issues, and challenges have become something that is worried by many novice teachers out there. So today we are going to look into a few challenges or issues faced by novice teachers. So the first issue we're going to look into is time management. We have to admit that not everyone has a good time management, but time management is one of the issues that is popular among novice teachers. This is because apart from teaching syllabus in a given period, teachers have many other important tasks at their hands. For example, they need to organize parent-teacher meetings, taking tests and exams, checking notes, organizing annual functions, sports events, maintaining documents, and other unimaginable amount of paperwork. They don't get sufficient time to prepare and plan before executing these tasks. So one of the reasons why most novice teachers have issue with time management is because of heavy paperwork. So besides lessons, plans, and assessment, novice teachers nowadays are overwhelmed with heavy paperwork. They are required to prepare reports, ledgers, exam papers, test papers, assignments, projects, certificates, scoreboards, attendance sheets, and a number of such other documentation that is needed to be maintained by the teacher. So it's a tiresome and a long drawn out process. So as a result, they could not meet their deadlines and get everything done on time. So the next reason is creating lessons and assessments. So creating effective lessons and assessment is probably the most time-consuming activity for the teachers, as the generation of students today isn't the same as before. A teacher needs to consider a lot of factors that might influence the lessons. Furthermore, with the new syllabus being introduced, the 21st century focus, the 21st century learning focus and others, they need to ensure their lesson to be very interactive and engaging, so that the students won't feel bored, so that the students will find the classroom environment fun and amusing, and it will boost their motivation to learn. So to consider all these factors already take quite some time for the novice teachers to be fully prepared before entering the classroom. So this is the reason why they have issues with their time management. So the next issue that most novice teachers face is classroom management. So it is true that one of the biggest challenges that surfaces for new teachers is classroom management. A 2004 Public Agenda survey found that 85% of the teachers believe new teachers are particularly unprepared for dealing with behavior problems in their classrooms. So one of the reasons why most novice teachers have issue with classroom management is because of students' behavior. So every student comes from different strata of society and has a different family background. Therefore, some students may exhibit troubled behavior. Adapting to their needs, understanding their problems, and providing them with proper guidance can be a difficult and a time-consuming task. So not all students in a class may be well-mannered or respectful. There can be some cases of serious disrespect towards teachers, and the rules safeguarding students can be a headache for most novice teachers. So as a result, most teachers feel stressed out to deal with these students every day. They will end up feeling less interested to pay attention to the students, and this will somehow affect their teacher's career. So the next reason why most novice teachers have issue in classroom management is because they need to apply the same syllabus and teaching methods. So in today's classroom, a number of students in the class can range between 40 to 80 students in the classroom. And we can imagine how chaotic the classroom could be. And most of the time is lost in disciplining the class instead of teaching. Every student is different, but problems arise when specific curriculum is prescribed for all students. The pace of understanding a concept differs depending on the students themselves. One teaching method may work on one student, but may not work on other students. This is because all students are different. They have different proficiency. They have different level of understanding. They may not be able to absorb things fast to be compared to the other students. However, novice teachers nowadays, they are expected to apply the same syllabus or a fixed curriculum to students with varying needs. Novice teachers also don't get enough time to tailor content appealingly as per the needs of students. As a result, the students will end up not learning much. This may affect the teacher's emotion as they will feel burdened to get students to pass the examination and also to understand whatever that the teacher has taught. So the next issue that most novice teachers face is lack of parental support. I bet this is one issue that is famous among novice teachers. It also becomes a part of conversation almost every single day. I remember when I had my practicum last semester, I always listened to most of the teachers were complaining how some parents are being ungrateful because they have someone to look after their children when they are working, but they always put the blame on the teachers when something happened to their children, if their children fail the examination and etc. A teacher is still a human being. They make mistakes. They may be lacking in something. We can't expect teachers are perfect all the time. Parental support is very crucial. Even when it is the role of a teacher to provide students with quality education, the process is only complete with the cooperation and understanding of parents and school management. However, it can be said that some parents nowadays are stepping away from their responsibility. And for novice teachers, it can be tough for them to handle at least a few of the students. Parents nowadays, instead of supporting the teachers, they put the blames on the teacher. If their children fail in the examination, the teachers are to be blamed. For everything that their children are lacking, it is the teacher's mistake for not providing better education for their children. If their children screw up, it's still the teacher's problem for not looking after their children. How could this be fair? I mean, yeah, it's a role of teacher to provide with quality education, but education comes from home as well. So as a parents, they need to educate their children as well. If they can't afford to do that, the least they can do is support the teacher. Perhaps if they know something is wrong with their children, perhaps they could give like insights to the teachers. Okay, my child is like this. What do you propose to change him or her, something like that. So parents should be the ideal working partners of teachers to provide the best learning experience for students. Even if it's the teacher's responsibility to educate the students, to ensure they learn something, to ensure they will behave and be a good human, still the lack of support from parents will make it impossible for novice teachers to fulfill all this. So I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. My name is Ermiza binti Arifin and I am your last presenter, so please bear with me and lend me your ears for just a few minutes. So for my part, I will be presenting about school management issue. So in recent years, many occurrences such as rapid changes in education and school system, increasing student discipline problems, and many others unpredictable situations have caused educational management to face various management issues. So either it is big or small kind of problem, the problem remain unsolved, may prevent an organization or a management to function effectively. School effectiveness depends heavily on the principal, teachers, parents, and students in order to achieve the goal which the school have already set. So, we will discuss further about the most common duties and issue that school management have to face. Okay, so first of all, who is school manager? A headmaster, head teacher, headmistress, principal, or school director is the staff member of a school with the greatest responsibility for the management of the school. Teachers, parents, and community members are also school manager. They can serve as managers in the management community and participate in decision making of the school. The function of school manager are to manage the school and formulate policies that best suit the needs of the school as well as the overall interest of the students. Okay, so let's move on to our first point, which is professional development. Mason 2004 points out that motivation should be understood as a management strategy to persuade people to change, to release staff trapped potential, to bring out the best in people, to improve teaching and learning, and to satisfy psychological need in an individual for the benefit of both the individual and also the school. So since education is changing rapidly, school management must demonstrate the importance of lifelong learning by their own involvement in an ongoing self-development in order to motivate other staff members. It was apparent in a study done by Vusil Mesila 2011 that a number of school leaders lack the necessary confidence to lead and manage their school because they lack the professional development skill. Okay, so moreover, a few leaders are not sure on how to deal with the conflicts within their school. And there are also some of them that might think that they know how to deal with a certain situation and they are unwilling to hear other people's perspective. Therefore, it is important for leaders to get into the habit of constant learning so that they can improve themselves. So when leaders learn on how to develop themselves and the changes in education, they will learn how to motivate others around them. Okay, so for our second point, it is interaction with and between school staff members. So as the school manager, one of the main goals is to create a workplace that fosters collaboration, encouragement, and unity. Sounds simple, right? But human is far from simple. Sometimes teachers may have some type of disagreement among them and other school staff. And if the school management don't handle the situation correctly, it can tarnish the school reputation. So if this happens, the school management need to address the situation by bringing both sides together and persuade them to discuss the issue. They need to see the other person's perspective and understand their own emotion. So managing a school and keeping the peace is not an easy task. However, it is important for school management, for school manager to keep a healthy relationship between staff members. This is because having peers that you can collaborate with and lean on during tough time is extremely essential. Okay, last but not least, students' discipline. One of the major problems that school management face from students is the lack of discipline. Therefore, in order to curb this issue, school management should apply a disciplinary system. When applying disciplinary system, it is important for school management to keep in mind that the main aim of school disciplinary system is to change students in appropriate behavior, and it is not to harm them or to put them in an uncomfortable situation. However, the use of disciplinary action or punishment can be problematic because there are people who believe that punishment will only evoke a negative side effects. Therefore, it is absolutely important for school management to establish and build disciplinary system that are appropriate with with the student's age and also their behavior. For example, students who have attendance problem should not have the same type of punishment as students who involve in a physical fight with their peers. It is also important for the principal to work together with the teachers, with the school staff, in order to curb students' inappropriate behavior, to help them to improve, especially for students who involve in the most intense and frequent problems such as disrespecting teachers and also vandalizing school properties.
In conclusion, there are many different things that the school management have to cope with, but in spite of all these issues, they try to do their best in fulfilling their official responsibilities. School managers and leaders who have identified problems endemic in their school will know their strength and weakness. So they will adopt relevant leadership style that would address this issue. So that is all from us. Thank you for listening to our presentation and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you and have a nice day.